It would seem that there are two different types of people in the world. Those who believe that the Earth is round and those who believe that it's flat. Despite there being more evidence that the Earth is round and not flat like a spinning disk in space, there are still arguments brought up that the flat earthers truly believe in, even if to the rest of us they mostly fall flat. What is and isn't real? Check out these 5 strangest things flat earthers believe are true. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Antarctica is actually a giant ice wall surrounding the Earth. If we talk about anything first, it should be the giant wall of ice that surrounds the Earth and keeps the oceans from falling into space. This also means that if you were to get so far as an Antarctic quest and you got to the edge of the ice wall, you too could fall off into space. But no one's ever made it that far. The government is guarding Antarctica, and some places are strictly off limits to people. Someone has to guard that wall so that the round Earth conspiracy can continue to benefit companies such as NASA, and they are the same ones that protect it. NASA gets a whopping 0.5% of the federal budget each year, a scant $18.4 billion in 2011. And you wonder why they don't have the money to go back to the moon, but if you ask anyone that believes in a flat Earth, this great ice wall protects us from anything that lies beyond, like maybe aliens, or maybe even heaven and hell. Some of you may ask, what happens if we fly over the ice wall in an airplane? The answer that comes from the president of the Flat Earth Society is that any plane that flew over this ice wall could drop from the sky and the planet at the same time. And according to them, no one has ever ventured this far or returned from the ice wall to tell about their journey. Apparently, the model of the flat Earth is moving upward like an elevator. What's beyond the wall is of great interest to the society, and many believe there's an infinite plane beyond the giant ice wall. It should be interesting to know where the sun and the moon belong in this story. The belief here is that the sun and the moon are the same size, about 32 miles in diameter each. The sun and moon circle the Earth and are in exact opposite planes. They both, of course, orbit the North Pole. Number 4. Forests aren't real. Some beliefs really require a lot of imagination. And who are we to say what's real or not? Take forests, for example. One of the stranger beliefs is that forests don't really exist. This new and strange theory popped up in 2017. The theory basically states that there are no forests on the planet Earth. The trees that we see are not trees at all. These are just big bushes, or much smaller remnants of what was left over when real forests on the planet were entirely decimated. This natural apocalyptic event most likely took place when the comet that wiped out the dinosaurs impacted the atmosphere. The air impact of the asteroid destroyed the majority of ancient forests, including trees, which were many times bigger than the ones we see now. Real trees were incredibly massive, and some flat earthers believe that the mountain formation in Wyoming called Devil's Tower is the petrified stump of one of these great trees. As a matter of fact, we should just continue on with this. The belief is that nothing was formed by lava, but instead, the mountains and rocks you see are the remnants of ancient forests. This includes all those canyons, deserts, and every rock formation that you know. Those aren't rocks. They're tree. There are some very giant trees in the world still. Take the giant sequoia in California, if you can carry it. Some of these trees can measure 30 meters in diameter at their trunk. So there are still giant trees on the planet. So it could be absolutely true that the ancient forests had gigantic trees. But this whole thing still begs the question, what does this have to do with a flat Earth? Well, if you look at the natural formations argument that round Earth people believe in, flat Earthers can't account for such things like mountains. They cannot concede to how such formations were made from a flat Earth. Where would these mountains come from, after all? And that lava that's running through Hawaii? It had to come from somewhere inside the Earth, right? It could be very possible that lava also isn't real to the people that believe in the flat Earth. We don't know. Number 3. Gravity does not exist. You really need to have some serious conviction if you believe that the force that holds everything to the ground or gives weight to everything isn't real and therefore doesn't exist. You may remember we briefly touched on the movement of the Earth when we talked about the ice wall. Remember that to a person that believes in a flat Earth, it would be absolutely insane to believe that we're standing on a round planet that's hurling through space at 67,000 miles per hour, not to mention that the Earth is also spinning at 1,000 miles per hour on its axis. Instead, the flat Earth model is said to be constantly moving upwards like an elevator that never reaches the top floor, or something like that. They call this universal acceleration, and it rejects Newton's law of gravity and Einstein's theory of relativity. Those ideas are crazy and involve a spherical mass pulling planets and stars in uniform towards its center. Well, universal acceleration has its own tricks. Instead of gravity, the Earth is lifted with an unknown form of dark energy, which physicists incidentally claim makes up 70% of the universe. Of course, the origin of this energy is unknown. It's claimed that the dark and magical energy pushes the planet Earth upwards forever, with no destination through the loneliness of space. It's the force of the Earth moving upward that's keeping us pinned to the ground. Yeah, the whole idea sounds a little far-fetched, but despite this, there are actually many people using their own skills to debunk gravity. A flat Earth theorist by the name of Dave Marsh says that he has destroyed the Big Bang Theory by simply using his camera and some application. He goes on to state that there's only one true force in nature, and it's called electromagnetism. Many flat earthers believe that we've all been deceived and bring up things such as saying that the horizon's always eye level no matter what elevation you're at. And back to the idea of a round ball flying through space, why would water stay still? And why is it not wobbling like the round Earth would? These are just some of the arguments that are brought up when gravity's mentioned. Great arguments. Number 2. All astronauts have been bribed or coerced. There are many astronauts that have been to space, as we all know. I mean, there are people that we've put into space, right? Well, you won't be able to believe this one either if you also believe that the Earth is flat. But the main argument behind this is that the space agencies of the world are just saying that we've put humans in space to keep us all focused on the big conspiracy of a round Earth. So this obviously means that all the astronauts that have ever been to space, or in this case, look like they've been to space, have been paid off or bribed to say that their experiences were real. Understanding the conspiracy is something else. And the whole idea of faking space travel came about during the Cold War so that the United States could show off its militaristic dominance of space. The moon landings and everything else were faked as well. In fact, if you are firmly in the flat Earth religion, then you believe or must accept that no one has ever been to space. There's no way to get into space because there's an invisible dome that protects us from space and would stop any rocket from getting into space. There's also the suggestion that the Earth is a diamond, or at least diamond-shaped, and is supported by pillars, great stone pillars, that also move upwards with the Earth. It sounds very complicated when you think about it, but back to the bribes and conspiracy. NASA's doing a really good job of faking things, including photos of rockets, astronauts in space, the space station, and even satellites. They're all designed to deceive the public into thinking that the Earth is round. But you have to at least consider this for a moment. If a round Earth is an elaborate hoax, it's a damn good one. Sure, there's CGI, but not back in the late 60s and early 70s. Some new research says that we didn't have the technology to fake the moon landing as many flat Earth conspirators claim. In fact, one guy by the name of Bart Sibrel found out you don't harass an astronaut that's been to the moon. Bart approached Buzz Aldrin and asked him to swear on the Bible that he went to the moon. But when Bart began to call him a liar and a coward, well, Buzz had just about enough of that and ended up giving him a knuckle sandwich. And probably a well-deserved one. Let's see that clip again. Number 1. Australia isn't a real country, mate. A lot of different theories pop up when you start talking about a flat Earth. For instance, what are you gonna do about countries that are on the bottom half of the globe model? Well, if you're a flat earther, it's just better to assume using the same magic as not believing in gravity and just believing that it doesn't exist. The theory really isn't a new thing, but something that was actually mentioned back in 2006 from the Flat Earth Society. But recently, some 50,000 people decided to jump on the Australia doesn't exist bandwagon because, well, these kinds of bandwagons are just plain fun to be on with a tank full of crazy and some like-minded individuals. Facebook seems to breed all kinds of strange things, and so the idea that Australia isn't real got necroed, and it's making a real comeback. When you create something like this, you really need to be prepared when people ask about your Australian friends. Those people are just actors, or even some computer-generated people. The plot behind all of this is to trick the world into thinking the Earth is just a round sphere. The Flat Earth Society called Australia an imaginary land. Oh, and everything you've ever heard about this place, it's all been made up, including pictures of the place, all those scary animals, and even that weird yet instantly recognizable accent. Anyway, you're probably thinking this would be really something difficult to fake, right? Well, the secret government will stop at nothing to keep you deceived, even if it means hiring some secret internet agents that simply surf the internet and enforce these round Earth beliefs. Round Earth science that's taught in school teaches that this country exists, but in reality, it's all part of the conspiracy. Some have said that the fact that governments put so much effort into covering up the fact that it's not a real country or place proves that it's fake after all. Again, the secret governments of the world want to see just how far they can push this thing and prove that the Earth is round. The nefarious devils. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other